Okay, heading on over to the money desk now. Devin Murrigan talking about something very interesting, and that's the ratings on the best and worst airlines that South Africans are experiencing, and I'd love to know where SAA features on that list.
In the midst of all of the strikes and the concerns over the national carrier, indeed. So we've had rankings released of the preferred low-cost airlines. Consulta has released its latest South African Customer Satisfaction Index, focusing on the best low-cost domestic airlines in the country. So the index polled customers of British Airways Comair, FlySafair, Kulula, Mango, and of course South African Airways. More than 1,000 customers were surveyed, and here's a quick look now at the rankings. The data shows that FlySafair leads the ranking with 78 out of 100 points, followed by British Airways Comair, and then which scored about 75 points. Kulula Airlines reaching 74.4, and Mango scoring on par with the industry average. That's the score of Mango, 74 points. And yes, the big one, South African Airways, lagging behind. That score 68.8 points and well below the industry average. So we want to get a sense now, of course, of exactly what these rankings mean as far as customer experience is concerned. And from Consulta, Inika Prinsloo joins me now for more on this. Inika, thanks very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
So, I mean, this is more than just ticket prices here. I mean, we're talking about stiff competition out there. Customers want an experience when they fly. I suppose it's reflected in the rankings?
It is indeed. The index is much more. It does show for customers what is value for money, but the index follows a complete set of indicators looking at what customers expect from airlines, to how they perceive the quality, to how they perceive the value, and ultimately then we get to the ranking that you've just displayed. So while ticket prices might be a function of how we perceive value in terms of what I get from the airline, it is the complete set of from where I have an expectation of the airline to how they ultimately deliver on that expectation that the indices measure.
So we've seen South African Airways on a low score on that ranking sheet, but I mean, we must point out that there are a few areas, I'm not sure if I should use the word surprisingly or not, where SAA actually fared well.
True. Very, very true. I think give credit where credit is due, especially in the midst of where there is a lot of stories around SAA. We have seen in the index over the last 5 years, but while coming off a low base, SAA have managed to actually increase customers' expectation of them. However, the delivery we do see fall short, and there are a number of areas that I think they can improve on. But SAA has been working on areas that have been shown to them where they can improve customer experience.
What's the reason for FlySafair having such a perceived good value?
Perceived good value is a function of, and it's one of the measures in the index, perceived good value is a function of what is my perception of the value that I get for the money that I pay. And FlySafair does particularly well in this instance. So customers have the perception that that price that I'm paying for the quality that I'm receiving in terms of the totality of the experience, FlySafair is doing extremely well. And we've seen over the last couple of years, they've really invested in their customer experience. It's a function of making sure that there's on-time departure and arrival. It is the totality of the experience from booking, where you can receive an SMS on your booking confirmation, to almost the seamless going through the gates and ultimately into the aeroplane. They are really doing well in terms of what customers expect from them.
It sets them apart. Now let me ask you about the number of complaints against an airline. I believe you did some ranking on there. What's that picture looking like?
If we look at complaints, international benchmark, and this customer experience survey that we do, it's done in 23 countries all over the world, and we do it across 97 industries. Yep. And one of the benchmarks is that what we tell our brands and our companies that we work with and advise to is that we're trying, as an international best practice, to keep the incidence of complaints to around 10%. We want customers to complain. We never want our complaint incidence to be too low, because then our consumers are not engaging with us. But in terms of the measure, we've seen that most of the airlines, and we have to give credit to our airlines, our domestic airlines are doing much better than when we compare them to domestic airlines in other countries that's also measured on the industry. SAA does have the highest incidence of complaints, but then the other side of that coin is how well do we actually handle the complaints. And what we typically say to the brands is how have the incidents below 10%, do get your customers to complain, but make sure that at least 50% of the time that we do resolve the complaints. SAA, the complaints incidence is fairly high, it's higher than what the industry is, but in terms of successfully handling complaints, we've seen that interestingly enough, FlySafair is doing quite well, but so does some of the other airlines.
Enika, thanks very much. It's all the time we have for From Consulta. Enika Prinsloo, thanks indeed.
Thank you very much.